Stand by then for the start of the Bosch Australian Rally Championship, coming to you from Calder Park Raceway here in Melbourne. It's round one of the Bosch Australian Rally Championship from the Calder Park Raceway. Like the sport itself, this round is another exciting addition to the world of rally. For this is the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder, a festival of motorsport coming to you from what was once the home of oval track racing in Australia. There is nothing quite like the sensation of blasting sideways along a gravel road. It's a sensation that has attracted competitors to rally for years. For several decades, it attracted manufacturers to the sport, vying to translate that interest into showroom sales. As we've recently discovered, the door has been opened on a new generation of interest, the small, powerful two-wheel drive cars gracing our roads in ever-increasing numbers. In recognition of this support, and for the first time anywhere in the world, the Bosch ARC is two championships, 2- and 4-wheel drive. It's a time of change, and as we've discovered today, it's not just two championships, or classics, or new categories like the side-by-side. It's a new concept in how we view the sport. Scott Petter's idea to bring rally to the people here at the Calder Thunderdome is visionary, not unlike the vision of the man who owns the real estate, Bob Jane. The motorsport legend was never shy when it came to giving things a go, a trait acknowledged as integral in making things happen. And happen is just what Rally Calder is all about. Against the odds, Melbourne's Festival of Motorsport has been launched onto the calendar as drivers line up for the gravel and tarmac for round one of the Bosch Australian Rally Championship, and also round one of the Australian Tarmac Rally Series. It's hardly the location you'd expect to find a gravel competition, but it's quite different to the closed public roads of a traditional tarmac rally. That difference has attracted a solid field to taste the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder for the first time. It's been a baptism of fire for Scott Petter and the organising crew led by experienced clerk of the course, Ross Tapper. Months of planning have been washed away with Melbourne's record deluge of rain in the preceding week. There are plenty praying for a reprieve in the weather. The backlot of Calder Park Raceway resembles a mud buggy track, and teams recce a hastily rerouted Heat 1 on race day. There's not a negative word. The assembled throng sympathetic to the plight organisers face, but everyone's eager to sample the new short course format. ARC stages will be a combination of gravel and tarmac, and while the hard surface of the Thunderdome and the national circuit are unaffected, much of the dirt in the outer areas has turned to slush. Clark Petter leads off the two-wheel drive field. While the highest-ranked driver, he's under no illusion about just how difficult the job is transitioning from a competitive four-wheel drive to the G2 spec two-wheel drive Honda Jazz. To make that transition even harder, the rally begins on bitumen, so any thought of coming to terms quickly with the surface is impossible. One moment they're on the Thunderdome, weaving through chicanes, and the next they're on gravel in the backlot, once used for spectator parking. These days it's where everything is put out to pasture, a very different landscape for a rally, the junkyard. Sister Jazz in the hands of Eli Evans shows the experience of 2 seasons steering a front-wheel drive car. His times through Crocker are 8.5 seconds quicker than his teammate. But this new short sprint format is no walk in the park.
I'll tell you what, the directions are probably the hardest bit. Knowing that, do we turn left here, do we turn right there? But when you get it right, it's pretty rewarding. But I haven't got it right too many times yet, so we'll keep trying.
It's not just front-wheel drive here. South Australia's favourite son, Jack Monkhouse, has donned a Nissan Silvia after watching his good friend Will Orders impress last season. Jack starts just the way he wants, second fastest through SS1, splitting Team Honda.
It's brand new out of the box, like it's the first rally it's ever done. did some testing at Brendan Reeves, and first time it's been driven on gravel, and yeah, having a ball.
Another Sylvia in the hands of newcomers to the ARC, Alan Rowe and Ray Farrell, is in the hunt, 5th quickest in their first national event. But it's junior competitors, Michael Busby and Steve Fisher, who steal some of the early limelight, 4th fastest in their turbocharged RX-7. Once again, rallyschool.com.au has swung its weight behind the Junior Challenge to ensure the future of the sport, and Busby is eager to book a berth at the Junior Final in Coffs later this year. All the stages this round are named after prominent rally champions, some past, some present, and the repeat run through Crocker gives everyone the chance to gauge their own performance. Rowe beats Busby second time through SS2, but Eli Evans and Glenn Weston show the experience they've gained in the earlier model Honda has been worthwhile. Late in the 2011 season, Adrian Coppen drove the Kumo-backed Ford Fiesta. This year, the junior aspirant is bringing awareness of the plight of the threatened Tasmanian Devil. The innate Fiesta can't match the time of Busby, but Coppen has shown in the past that consistency rewards, and it's early in the season.
Evans stage first pass, 2.6 kilometres.
Special Stage 3 is Evans, a short gravel-only stage, primarily using the outer paddock, but beginning on the other side of the national circuit.
Go. 100, 5 left, and straight crest, 200.
Both Hondas dominate. The best Jack Monkhouse can do with the rear-wheel drive is third. Mark Pedder closes the gap on his teammate and goes one better on the repeat run, beating Eli Evans by 0.2 of a second. But both are upstaged by Monkhouse, who smashes 4 seconds off his time to win SS4. John Brunsma's return to the ARC for a second full season sees him with Adam Tillett alongside once more. The North Oz Project's SS Commodore has had some suspension tweaks from Barry Lowe in the off-season, and the car is handling better, but still 8 seconds off the leading two-wheel drive pace. Brunsma trades times with the other V8 Commodore in the hands of Matt Amos. Amos and Ryan return with their ute, also better prepared for the gravel. Their objective, the Junior Challenge Trophy.
What's that?
As it turns out, it's a broken constant velocity joint, and Alan Rowe's Repco Sylvia is out. Short stage times mean there can be no slip-ups. This round, losing a couple of seconds on a wide corner is unlikely to be made up with such short stages. A mechanical like this means you're out for sure. The upside, though, for the crowd is they get to see all the action.
You know, for spectators, it's just outstanding. It actually is a hell of a lot of fun to drive out there. So, no, I think as a concept, if we can get the people here, it's perfect.
By Special Stage 6, Evans 3, Pedder is within a second of Eli Evans' time. This time, though, the competition comes from juniors, Coppen and Busby, just 3 seconds off the pace.
Turn 2 left.
Jack Monkhouse engages some classic rally cuts, making an already short course shorter. But they don't all work, the soft grass slowing the Sylvia and dropping the South Australian to 5th in stage. Rallyschool.com.au Junior Challenge competitors have come out of the woodwork in 2012. 19-year-old Guy Tyler fronts this season with a new car and a new co-driver. Sitting alongside the South Australian in the 777 Motorsport Renault Clio is Lisa Dunkerton. Her aim? To get Guy through to the two-wheel drive final later in the year.
100.
By service before the final night stages, Mark Pedder is discovering that there are benefits to trailing his teammate.
It's a huge advantage for me having Eli, you know, part of Eli's team, because I'm picking his brains the whole time, and he's telling me most things, of course, but no, I just got to get used to it, learn it, and just keep enjoying it.
Mark reckons you're only telling them about 70% of the amount of stuff you really could be.
70. Probably a bit less than that, I reckon. Can't give him all the secrets.
SS7, Dunkerton is one of the longest stages in the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder. It's been shortened due to the wet conditions, but starts on gravel and finishes inside the Thunderdome.
9 left.
To make things more interesting, it's under lights.
Nice and high now.
Alan Rowe rejoins after service and immediately grabs 4th in both stages. But the time lost in service means he will finish bottom of the two-wheel drive ladder for the heat. Guy Tyler is home 7th and feels lucky to be there.
We've had a little bit of trouble with the gearbox linkages and managed to fix that in service. We're very relieved. But nice clean run. Haven't made any real bad mistakes at all and been really good. Lisa's been fantastic and really enjoyed the Calder Park stages.
Eli Evans shows the way on both the night stages, but Mark Pedder is closing the gap. Pedder can't hold off Monkhouse through SS7.
50. Don't cut 3 left again. 150.
By the repeat of Crocker, it's a jubilant Mark Pedder who joins his teammate in a 1-2 finish for the final stage of the heat.
The team is just fantastic, like from Pete to the Italians to Nezu and the whole Honda people, the whole Honda crowd's fantastic.
Jack Monkhouse does separate the Honda Jazzers to claim second in the heat, with Adrian Coppin the fastest of the juniors in 4th. And a consistent run from Ivan Thompson in the Aston Martin rewards him with 5th in two-wheel drive. Next up, the action in the 4-wheel drive Bosch Australian Rally Championship from Calder Park Raceway. 20 teams have assembled to contest the hottest ticket in town, the final chance to bag a 4-wheel drive title in the Bosch Australian Championship. From 2013, the series will be 2-wheel drive only, and as we saw in the season preview, that's brought a few old names back to the sport. But it's not them or the ones we'd expect who take first blood at Rally Calder. An almost unexpected assault from the west sees Nick Box and Ash Ridden top the early leaderboard and lay down the challenge for the weekend. Box and Ridden put a full half-second between themselves and Michael Bowden through SS1, Crocker. Through SS2, another favourite for the 4-wheel drive championship, Steve Shepherd, takes it up to Box. Just 0.2 of a second separate them. But now there's another West Australian in the mix. Last year's Junior Challenge winner lifts his game after the first stage. Tom Wild splits Shepherd and Box, 0.2 of a second separating the top 3. The Irishman, Charlie Drake, makes his intentions clear as well. The Cladar Civil Mitsubishi, 5th fastest on both stages. By Evans 1, the 3rd special stage on gravel, Tony Sullins makes his presence felt. The old model Subaru into 6th and only 3 seconds off the leaders. But the surprise of the day is just that. From the rallyschool.com.au Junior Challenge ranks comes 17-year-old Dan Day, 4th fastest in stage in a display of driving well beyond his years. Still using P-plates and under the guidance of the experienced Steve Glennie, young Dan shows him and the rally world he is to be considered a future champion.
Yeah, I think he's all pretty happy, so that's what I'll say.
It's going all right.
Yeah.
Proving there's no room for mistakes, Nick Box pays the price for pushing hard. He only loses 4 seconds, but it drops him to 7th in stage and 4th outright. But he leaves the lead in good hands, the other West Australian grabbing his first ARC stage win, and with it, the lead of the championship. Last year's Junior Challenge winner, Tom Wild, proving the system works. Nick Box jumps back to the lead in the repeat of Evans, 0.1 in front of Michael Bowden and 0.2 in front of Wild. The competition is hot from the start of the 2012 season.
Yeah, that was better that time. I overcooked it at the hairpin the first time. I couldn't quite hear Helen and I was just driving too hard. We fixed the intercom and it's totally different now. Yeah, it's heaps better.
Just 1 second separates the first 4 cars through SS4. Steve Shepherd finding the competition as tough this year as it was the last. Mick Patton returns in the Repco Subaru, his intentions squarely focused on the Premier League trophy. Through SS4, he is 7th quickest and ahead of his competition, Nathan Berry in the Evo 6. The Brit's Subaru of Mark Butcher breaks into the top 10 through Evans' repeat. The short sprint stages and changing surface are tough.
It mixes it up, and I think it tests your driving ability, so it'd be good to see how everyone fares up at the end of the day. It's very tight, but you know, still gets the adrenaline going and a lot of fun out there.
Brett Middleton's return to rally is no coincidence, and the appearance of the first competitive turbo diesel Subaru Forester in the world is possible thanks to his own business, MRT Performance. But today it's not MRT's performance that's in question.
I'm making a few mistakes on the way, brushing the cobs away, like stalled the car at that stage on one of the corners. Another corner went the wrong way, dodging rocks, but just trail tracking along, having a good run and just learning as we go.
Left!
I thought you said, jeez, I thought you said turn right. Sorry. From my point of view, I've got to change all my driving style. It's different from all my other cars.
With the narrowest of leads possible, Michael Bowden turns up the wick through Duncan and Long, beating Tom Wilde by 0.4 and taking the outright lead. It takes to special stage 6, the third run through Evans, for Tony Sullins to show his hand. Brake issues have severely hampered his start this season, but third fastest in stage gives a clear warning that the battle this year will not be clear-cut. Mick Patton and Derek Reynolds also make an appearance in the top 5 this stage. It's game on in the four-wheel drive championship. Charlie Drake is 2nd quickest, just 0.6 behind Nick Box. Drake's ascendancy to the unrestricted ARC is no laughing matter. The Irishman is serious about winning in 2012. The introduction of the East Coast Bullbars SUV Challenge brought former ARC competitor Brett Middleton out to play, because this category combines business with pleasure.
The world revolves around putting food in your mouth, and you've got to make money to do that. So we do this because we enjoy it, but also there's a business side to it as well. We did a tune on our customer's Forester Turbo Diesel just last week, and he said the reason why I did it was because he saw us doing our R&D and he was confident in getting what he wanted at the end. We want to get more people competing in the SUV Challenge. I mean, East Coast Bullbars have put a lot of effort behind it from a PR point of view, and they deserve the credibility of the rewards from the competitors entering the series. The good thing about this is you think of another sport in the world that you can get your driver's licence and go and measure yourself against the world champion. You go to Rally Australia, you can compete and measure yourself against Loeb and all those guys and compare yourself. There's not any other form of category of sport in the world that I can think of that you can do that.
So we're going to see the Forester out there gunning for the world title, are we?
I don't know about that, but we'll be out there having some fun.
The final 2 stages are held at night. The long Dunkerton stage suits Nick Box, and he clears out from the four-wheel drive field by over 3 seconds from Michael Bowden, extending his lead to over 8.
300.
Steve Shepherd's Oztech suspension Evo 10 is right there too, but tenths of a second are the difference between places at Rally Calder. Quickest junior challenge entrant is Dane Berry. Remarkably, the Evo 4 they only finished less than 24 hours earlier delivers he and Nathan Long a top 5 finish. Tom Wilde gambles on the closed pattern Kumo 900s in the drying conditions, but it backfires and a spin drops the Penna suspension Evo to 7th in stage. Worse still, the 13 seconds rob him of the heat lead and he plummets to 3rd outright. The final stage of Heat 1 sees Nick Box with a commanding 9-second lead over Michael Bowden. But it soon goes to the wire when Box's Evo 9 suffers electrical gremlins and things go dark. The only lights he can get are full beam, and that means holding the high beam dip switch on while driving. It's a scary ride through the back lot. Steve Shepherd's drive is exactly what he needs, winning the stage by 2 seconds from Michael Bowden and Tom Wilde. Importantly, pushing Wilde down another outright place. Nick Box, who started the final stage with an outright 8.7 second lead, loses exactly 8 seconds with his lighting problems, but holds on to win the first heat of the first round by a mere 0.7 of a second. Bowden claims second, with Steve Shepherd clinching third by just 0.2 over Tom Wilde. Dane Berry rounding out the top 5 fastest four-wheel drives in Heat 1 of the Bosch Australian Championship. Things didn't end well for Charlie Drake. His crew looked set for a long overnight service. After the break, the newest addition to the Bosch ARC, the Australian Side-by-Side Challenge. The newest innovation in the Bosch ARC is also one of the most spectacular. As I discovered prior to the start of Rally Calder, the experience of being in one of these side-by-sides is almost indescribable. In an unusual commercial arrangement, two commercial competitors have laid down their swords and entered into a bipartisan agreement to establish the Australian Side-by-Side Challenge. Manufacturers Polaris and Can-Am have joined forces with the Bosch ARC to realise this new competition. It's by no mean feat. Vehicles requiring CAMS-approved safety equipment such as roll cages, seats and belts. Rally gurus Cody Crocker and Michael Guest are amongst the favourites of the 10-strong field on the start line for Heat 1. Cody Crocker quickly establishes himself as the dominant force. As ambassador for Polaris, with his background at the top of rallying, it's hardly surprising he leads the way through SS1. Ian Hughes is next quickest as teams come to terms with the mix of all-terrain and rally roads. Most of these drivers have never raced with a co-driver and certainly not taken instructions before as they call pace notes. Snake Racing's Nathan Chivers is third through the first stage, another impressive start for a new driver-co-driver combination. Father Les guiding his son through the stage just 2 seconds behind Hughes. David Green is at his best in the co-driver's seat of a top-performing rally car, but guiding Michael Guest through the dirt like this was possibly not something he could have imagined in his career.
Into big yump, fast K right. Into big yump, easy left.
Guest and Green are 5th quickest through SS1, but are finding form in the unfamiliar surroundings.
Danger, sharp drop.
By the repeat run, they are 3rd quickest, the professional driver-co-driver combination adapting well. The other Can-Am, in the hands of Darryl Knight, has the advantage of more co-driver experience. Naomi Tillett has won dozens of tarmac rallies alongside Tony Quinn, although we suspect the comforts and mod cons of the Nissan GT-R35 are somewhat different to the Can-Am. Hughes rolls a rear tyre off the rim toward the end of SS2 and hands 2nd place to Nathan Chivers. But Chivers is lucky to get home at all. It's a near thing over the Polaris jumps. Oh! He and Les escape, grabbing a stage 2nd for their trouble. By the 3rd and final repeat run over the stage, Chris Sutton moves the 77 machine into 3rd in his best display for the day. But Ian Hughes is on a blinder after the flat, knocking 3 seconds off his previous best time. And sneaking in front of Nathan Chivers for a Heat 2nd by just 0.3. Cody Crocker and former teammate Greg Folletta take out the inaugural Heat in the Side-by-Side Challenge. First blood to Polaris, with Darryl Knight and Naomi Tillett, the quickest Can-Am, rounding out the fastest 5. Former champions have emerged from everywhere for the start of the 2012 season. 4-time Australian Rally champion Neil Bates is back in a Toyota with Coral Taylor. But this time, it's very different. A rear-wheel drive Toyota Celica.
Doing this on my own, so I wanted something that was economical to run and, go and have some fun, and, built a classic RA40 Celica, and here we are.
And here they were up against a field of established fast cars. Grant Walker in a quick BDA Escort, and Jeff David in his Porsche 911. Dave Thompson was back, but not in his big black beast. The Trenching Systems Australia XY GT has been dispatched to New Zealand for duties in Otago. So Tomo dragged another classic out of the barn with as much crowd appeal, TR7 V8. While Thompson might not have been fastest, he was certainly the most entertaining on gravel and on tarmac. The serious competition, though, was with David, Walker and Bates. The short stages meant there was no time to waste settling in. The normally quick Jeff David did just that and gave away any chance of a Heat 1 win. Grant Walker, on the other hand, stayed in touch with the quick Neil Bates. The former champion wasn't having everything his own way. With Walker staring down the bridesmaid barrel, Bates made a rare mistake, leaving the door open for the man with the blue oval.
No, around the other way. Sorry, other way.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely great. Love the bitumen. Yeah, love that tarmac. It's good.
Heat 2 brought the rain and a determined fight back from Walker and Jeff David. Both took stages off a more consistent Neil Bates in the muddy conditions. By the time the escort cried enough, the writing was on the wall, and Neil Bates took out the weekend win at his first outing in the new Classic. One thing's for sure, the gauntlet has again been thrown down for more top-level competition in the ARC Classics. As usual, though, final word to Tomo. After the break, the highlights from the first round of the Australian Tarmac Championships from Calder Park Raceway. In a first for the ARC, the Tarmac Championship is being held in conjunction with the Rally Championship. 3 rounds will be contested this year, with Adelaide Hills and Quick Targa West being held later in the season. This was a chance for the West Australians to steal a march on their competition by coming east, looking for championship points. Both modern and classic are represented. Peter Gazzard sure there is only one person he has to watch out for in modern.
Just my co-driver keeps being real bossy, telling me what to do. You've got a pretty experienced one. Yes, very good. Mark Stacey, I don't know how many times world champion or Asian Pacific champion, but really glad to have him help me out. He knows what he's doing.
So it just happened to be the right time for me when I wasn't committed to something else overseas, and so here we are, so really enjoying it.
Gazzard and Stacey dominated the modern category from the outset. The Jeff Beaumont prepared Mitsubishi Evo 9, well sorted and quick. Their competition came in the form of West Australian Michael Steele, one of 3 teams cashing in on the points on offer from round 1. Steele and co-driver Tony Best from Queensland came within a second of winning a stage from Gazzard, but ended the weekend 1 notch down from the top. It was another West Australian who grabbed the points for 3rd, regular Quick Targa West competitor Brendan Templeman, showing the consistency required to finish does count. But the surface conditions between the Thunderdome and the National Circuit kept Templeman on his toes.
You think you've got a fair bit of grip, and then all of a sudden you'll start getting a bit loose, so we'll just start backing off. Yeah, so it changes really. Depends on which run you're doing. Yeah, it's sort of, you think you got it nice and grippy, and then it starts getting slippy. So yeah, so you just sort of take a bit of caution between the two, I suppose.
Nick Strange from New South Wales gave away the chance of a podium, protecting the interests of his Renault Megane.
There's actually quite a good section actually in between the Thunderdome and the National Circuit. It's even got a little bit of gravel there, so it's a bit different for us guys. But no, that's actually probably one of my favourite sections of the course. So it's very, very good.
And it was a favourite part for one driver who should have been leading modern in a Lamborghini, but found himself in a Holden Monaro.
Last week we found out that it wasn't going to be available for another 2 weeks, so we thought we'd do something else, and Dave Thompson kindly offered to lend me this for the weekend, so never one to turn down an opportunity to go and have fun and do some skids, so here we are, and we're hoping to have a good one.
Hope turned to hopeless when the axle let go early on in the powerful muscle car, ending White's chances of leading the Classic charge for the championship.
We dropped about 20 minutes down, so about 6 or 7 stages, so we thought we'd just get back out and try and do some skids and, turn on a bit in the old muscle car and try and have some fun.
And that he did. Owner Dave Thompson would be proud of the way the V8 was being driven. Two-time winner of the Quit Targa West Classic Division, Tolly Chalice, arrived armed with a V8 himself, a far cry from the high-tech Porsche 911 he won with. The TR7 V8 was always going to be a handful.
We're not worrying about the window wipers because I'm actually looking out of his window most of the way. So, yeah, she's a bit slippery, but, you know, I'd expect V8 rear-wheel drive car. You know, it looks like it's going to be drizzly all day and, you know, we haven't had the car very long, so we're just giving it a good shot. Best we can do, the best we can do.
The best Chalice could do was third for the weekend, but that bagged him a handful of points to take back home in readiness for round two, and some much-needed time behind the wheel of a car very different to the Porsche. The classic battle was between Barry Fox from the ACT in his twin-turbo RX-7 and Stephen Sims in the rare RS200.
Interesting car. I've wanted one since I was apprentice. I watched Ford build them and followed rallying, so as soon as I got on top of business and things and Ford one, it was the first thing I wanted to go and get. So yeah, no, it's a good thing. And a very well prepared car. It was prepared by a guy, ex-Tour Formula 1 guy in New Zealand, and you know, every time I've been out and I haven't had anything yet I've had to touch, so which is really good.
And it was really good at leading the classics from the start. Only once was he headed off when Barry Fox squeaked in under the RS200's time in his new RX-7.
The best thing today would be street tyres. They'd be a lot quicker, but where it is as it is and everyone's under the same boat, so yeah, it's very taily, it's a handful, but keep it in a straight line and we're still going as fast as we can.
That being the objective of the exercise. Those that went as fast as they could triumphed. Stephen Sims' RS200 took out Classic with a maximum 40 points for round one of the Australian Classic Tarmac Championship, while Peter Gazzard finished on top in the Australian Modern Tarmac Championship. Touted as Melbourne's Festival of Speed, not just rally and tarmac or the side-by-sides. This was an extravaganza, including parades, forums and drifting, a weekend for everyone. Only someone forgot to tell the weather. Getting near 500 horsepower down on a greasy road was never on the cards for time attack competitor Shane Stanley in his Toyota Supra. And the Mitsubishi of Ovi Zaburka paid the ultimate price, collecting the wall in the wet. The drifters fared better, replacing their traditional tyre smoke with water wings, adding a new dimension to the popular code of motorsport. The real competition came when the sun finally broke through at the Show and Shine display. It was just cars, thanks to Just Car Insurance, but of course that did include the girls. Melbourne's Festival of Motorsport might have been dampened by the torrential rain, but the spirits of those looking forward to next year were high. Calder Park Raceway once again provided a new and exciting outlet for motorsport. So the rain didn't help the forum or drifting cause, but it wasn't slowing down the side-by-sides. They knew what they were in for as they lined up to brave the weather for Heat 2.
It's an amazing category, this side-by-side challenge, and in all my years of rallying, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like it. I guess that's one of the big challenges. All the dirt and mud comes flying through, and yeah, this is a bit of a jacket. Normally we wouldn't have a jacket on like this, but as you can see, there's no windscreen, so the elements come flying through.
It was actually drying out yesterday, and we thought this is going well. And we shouldn't have said those magic words. Obviously now it's raining and more rain to come, so we're looking forward to getting quite muddy. They're talking about we'll have nice skin after this. We'll have all good mud facials during this weekend. I think so. It's going to be good fun, though.
It's a great mud pack on my skin. It'll be fine. My hair might go a bit curly because we're going to get wet, but you know that's the least of my problems.
As much as anything, Naomi Tillett's role was about getting her Can-Am driver used to the concept of pace notes. And judging by their 5th place in Heat 1, Darryl Knight is a quick learner.
For me, he's done a great job learning and listening, and And I mean, I've got a great teacher with Tony Quinn, as you know, so it's a good thing.
Snake Racing has turned up with 3 well-prepared Polaris machines. Nathan Shivers finished highest in Heat 1, but Wayne Murphy picked up an early stage win and is excited about the season ahead.
Yeah, well, we're all new at it. We spent a lot of time building 3 cars and we finally got them done by Tuesday, so we haven't done any testing, so it's testing while we're here, so we'll see what happens. Western Australia should be a beauty, and then going back to Queensland and Coffs Harbour to do a 4-round series should be great.
It's Murphy who strikes first in Heat 2, quickest again, almost a second ahead of Cody Crocker. Overnight rain has exacerbated the track conditions and the surface is being torn to shreds. Murphy's time to shine ends after he hits a rock dislodged by a previous competitor, bending the control arm. Game over for now. Snake Racing teammate Nathan Shivers is quickest next stage though. Crocker relegated to the back of the pack after rolling a tyre off the rim of the factory Polaris.
Just when you get a puncture on the front, it's a lot harder to get through the stage, steering wise, etc. than if it was on the rear. But yeah, so we battled through, lost a bit of time, and that's obviously for today's heat. We had a good lead yesterday, but that doesn't matter today, so it all starts from scratch, so a bit of time to make up. But we'll see how we go, try some new tyres and see if that makes a difference.
Michael Guest's Can-Am Commander pounces, and he and Nathan Shivers trade times through the morning rain. What Shivers gives away in rally experience to Guest, he more than makes up for in skill behind the wheel.
We're having to learn a lot really quick and yeah, put trust in the co-driver and listen. And it is hard to get used to, but you know, I've got my dad in there telling me, so yeah, you gotta, if you can't trust your dad, who can you trust? So he and you do a recce run and you have a look at it yourself, so you got to go with your gut and what he tells you, and yeah, it all seems to work all right actually. It's good.
Through SS7, Guest takes the outright lead.
Look, there's not much in it. Sure, we've got a slender lead at the moment and the conditions are really, really tricky. It's so easy to make a mistake. But you know, rallying's rallying. You've got to push hard if you want to, you know, want to finish on top at the end of the day.
But it's short-lived. The father and son duo pushing the Snake Racing Polaris back into the lead very next stage. Cody Crocker's new tyres do the trick. He and Greg Folletta have a fight on their hands with Shivers, but pull back enough time to eventually wrest the outright Heat 2 win. The weather cut some slack for Heat 3. The rain had left the surface in an unforgiving state, but there was still plenty of mud to share around. Again, Wayne Murphy banks first points in the morning sunshine ahead of Crocker and Shivers. It would be a while before the sun dried things out, and rather than tell you about it, we thought you could sit back and soak it all up. Determination pays off for Crocker and Folletta. They collect fastest time on the next 3 stages. SS19 is not kind to Snake Racing. Both Shivers and Murphy take a dive and lose any chance of the heat win. Chris Sutton pulls one out of the bag through 21, beating Crocker by over a second. Young James Shipp in the Sid Chrome Polaris comes within a second of the leader through SS23 and repeats the feat come finals time at the end of the day. Running on L's with his dad Warren alongside, the Victorian looks set for a future in the side-by-side challenge. While Naomi Tillett was pondering her next beauty treatment, Daryl Knight was getting set for a final bash through the mud. This was certainly not a weekend to stand on ceremony. It would be a murky ending to the challenge, even for the winners. And the winners were Cody Crocker and Greg Folletta, bagging maximum points from Nathan and Les Shivers. Ian Hughes is home third, and the youngest competitor, James Shipp, and his dad, fourth. Chris Sutton rounds out the final 5. Michael Guest Can-Am finishes just outside the 5 and will take 40 points to WA for the next round of the Australian Side-by-Side Challenge. Still to come, the action from the 2- and 4-wheel drive heats from Bosch ARC at the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder. been a long night in the Calder civil camp, repairing the damaged clutch from Heat 1.
We melted the clutch going around the last stage, and we took around the last stage in 5th gear, so a couple of the hairpins, the clutch got a bit of a reddening.
Rally School's Mick Ryan has another way of describing it.
To get the car moving and to try and get it back, he's just ridden the clutch, slipped it until literally it's melted the brass rivets out of the clutch. We needed to take the clutch off the engine and gearbox together to get the thing out on the floor last night.
Seen anything like that for a while?
I've never seen one like that ever. No, that's definitely some of Charlie's best work.
But Charlie's best work was yet to come. Tom Wilde was expected to come out of the blocks hard and fast for Heat 2. But Charlie Drake caught everyone napping, equalling the fastest time for the first stage. It was just 0.4 back to Michael Bowden, with Nick Box and Steve Shepherd 2 seconds behind. Without the experience on tarmac, Wilde knew he'd have to use the gravel to his advantage. Shepherd's reputation for being quick on the bitumen will be a problem as the gravel begins to rip up in the pouring rain. Steve Shepherd gets the jump next stage and beats Tom Wilde on the gravel, but they're both beaten by Nick Box. Charlie Drake blasts through SS11, beating Wilde by less than a second to score his second win of the heat. But the Irishman is not counting his chickens just yet.
It's going to be a finisher's rally. These stages are so short, the smallest mistake, and it's hard to make up 10-15 seconds on such short stages, so we're just going to have to be careful and play it smart for the rest of the day.
Tony Sullins shows the past few seasons on tarmac have not been a wasted effort. The repeat run of Heritage, an all-tarmac stage around the Thunderdome, is Sullins' domain. 2 from the older model Subaru. He's not totally happy after yesterday's brake issues.
Now we had a big effort this morning, put all new master cylinders in it. The thing's now good, but all the wheel bearings have been damaged from all the heat yesterday, so they've got a lot of pad knock off, and it's, I've got to double stroke the brakes sometimes and not other times, so it just takes the confidence away.
Drake, Wilde and Box dominate the front 3 positions through Evans 6. The Irishman edging in front of Nick Box for the outright lead by just 0.8 of a second. Trailing Mick Patton in the Premier League is Nathan Berry. He and Daniel Lemish lift their rate through SS15 to 6th. But their moment is actually next stage on the national circuit, where the rain brings them a moment of excitement in the otherwise dull weather day.
Right 4 into left 4. That's gold. Gold right there. Right 8 into left 8.
The tarmac surface is incredibly slippery and the gravel stages are becoming extremely boggy.
Well, this is day 2 of the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder, and can you believe it? Yesterday it was dusty, today it has been non-stop raining and the roads are starting to deteriorate. The rally cars have been using this part of the course quite often and things are starting to show up. You can see big pieces of concrete and stone starting to expose themselves. This is where a rally tyre comes into its own because they are specially constructed with heavier sidewalls and big deep tread to get through the slushy stuff. Buffing or removing tread from rally tyres makes them more like a wet tarmac racing tyre, while the deep tread rally tyres, of course, give better grip in the dirt. So, how do you decide what to do when half the track is dirt and half is tarmac? I would use new rally tyres due to the extremely slippery gravel conditions. You would lose far too much time using buff tyres due to wheel spin.
With the conditions as they are, most of the competitors this weekend are using the R800 tyre, which has the bigger open block pattern, wider grooves between them to push the mud and the water out.
This weekend they're trying everything to find that critical extra second or two.
They're also increasing their pressures, which push the blocks further apart and widen those grooves to pump even more water and mud out from under the tyres.
This rally is unique. Every millisecond counts and every chance to gain advantage is being explored. It's another learning curve for ARC teams as we head into a new season.
By the longest stage, Car 1, Steve Shepherd grabs his first stage victory for the heat by 3 seconds over Charlie Drake. Tom Wilde knows Shepherd is faster on the tarmac, and while Drake has the outright lead, second place seesaws between Wilde and Shepherd as they alternate between tarmac and gravel. Juniors Dane Berry and James Rodder are 5th and 7th respectively. For them, it is stage wins that are important, and despite claiming the majority of victories this morning, Rodder is now slipping behind Berry. Brett Middleton's Forester boasts plenty of mod cons to keep the car on the road and stable. But out here in this environment, Middleton needs to slide the car in the mud. He overrides the stability control, ironically, to give him better control of the SUV. Middleton is not the only car in pink for this event. Funny man Shane Jacobson has donned a race suit, thanks to rallyschool.com.au, and he's proud to be a part of this new take on the sport.
At last, instead of people having to walk, hundreds of kilometres through a forest hoping to see something go boom past them, out here you can get up on a hill and watch the whole thing happen. So, spectators are close to it, and I'm in a car and I've got my hands on a wheel and a stick, so that's where I want to be.
Jacobson will hardly feature in the results, but his presence here is another sign of the growing interest in the new Bosch ARC. Drake holds his nerve and the outright lead through to the final 2 stages, the long repeat run through car. But with the luck of the Irish, he arrives late at the finish with 1 stage to go.
Just halfway through that last run, just out of a tight hairpin right, just lost drive and it's just a mess, crossed up all the way. Had 14 seconds on Shep, but he's already after passing me out, so we're going to drop right back now. We've the same stage again to do with 3 drive shafts. May as well laugh as cry.
The Irishman's humour hides his agony. All he can do is watch as his first ARC heat win is snatched from his grasp after a brilliant display of driving. Just 0.8 of a second stands in the way of a win for Steve Shepherd, and with Drake forced to go slow, he clinches it.
Feel for Charlie Drake at the moment. That guy has driven so well all weekend. I'm almost disappointed to beat him if we've beaten him because he's broken his drive shaft, but I'm happy about it, I've got to say that.
The third and final heat is short and sweet. 3 new gravel stages hastily set after the previous day's heat has all but destroyed the road surface. Short stages that, as we've seen, can win and lose a rally in a heartbeat.
Here, 1 stage, 1 corner is potentially the difference between first on the stage and 5th on the stage. It comes down to a rally of perfection.
And no Charlie Drake. Sadly, no chance to get his Evo 9 repaired in time. Shepherd and McCarthy need this win to take out the weekend and pick up the bonus championship points on offer for the final. Nick Box and Ash Ridden need the victory after taking Heat 1 and missing the points of Heat 2. But Tom Wilde wants the win also, with Heat 2 under his belt. Bringing the bacon home for Petter's suspension on his first outing is important. Shepherd strikes first, 0.4 quicker than Wilde, with Bowden trailing by a further 2. The new kid hits back next stage, a full second quicker than Nick Box and Shepherd. Into the final, and Shepherd has a 0.7 lead over Tom Wilde. The closest finish in a rally with the most at stake in years. Shepherd must finish in front of Wilde for the round prize and the biggest bag of points on offer. But as we've come to expect this weekend, there's a twist in the tale. The Oztec Suspension Evo breaks an axle and Tom Wilde pounces, a sure heat win. Then Michael Bowden crashes his party. All weekend, he's pushed just hard enough, conscious of the need to preserve the machinery and the ease with which a heat can be lost. Now with bonus points on offer and nothing to lose, he lowers the fastest time by a whopping 5 seconds to win the last stage, grab the points and beat Tom Wilde to the heat by 0.8 of a second. In a mathematical equation that would test even Einstein, allowing half points for heats 1 and 3, 4 points for heat 2, and the bonus points of 5, 3 and 2 for the fastest cars in the final, it looks like this. Tom Wilde comes out on top in his first ever ARC event outside the Junior Challenge. Steve Shepherd is left to ponder what might have been. Michael Bowden is the quiet achiever for the weekend, sneaking in ahead of Nick Fox, who himself drove a sensational rally. Mick Patton will be happy in his first assault on the Bosch four-wheel drive ARC Championship. Dane Berry takes out the rallyschool.com.au Junior Challenge win, guaranteeing him a berth in the final at Coffs later in the season. Mick Patton gets the best start in the Premier League, 3 heat wins and maximum points. Stick around for the action from the final round of the Bosch two-wheel drive ARC Championship. The East Coast Bullbars rally Calder right after this. Heat 2 in the two-wheel drive Bosch Australian Rally Championship gets underway, and surprisingly, nothing separates Evans and Pedder. Eli should have the upper hand, but as Dunko predicted, tyre choice in this event is critical.
First stage this morning was noticeably different from last night even, so we've chosen the closed tyre, the 900, because I thought the weather might hold off at least till just before lunch, but not the case. So we're slipping and sliding everywhere.
I actually had a good couple of runs this morning, felt really comfortable in the car, so yeah, it'll take time, but we're getting there.
But so too is Jack Monkhouse. The rear-wheel drive Nissan Silvia snatches the win through Portman. In the process, jumping to the outright lead with Mark Pedder.
It's on for young and old, which is what we love and what the fans love, so we just got to take it as it goes. We weren't expecting to be maybe quite this fast on the wet stuff, but I'm just trying to drive the car a bit differently, and the gearbox has been really good in helping me do that, just short-changing it and trying to get some more road speed up.
Through SS12, Herridge around the Thunderdome, Evans bounces back for a stage victory, again taking the outright lead. But back on Portland, for the repeat SS13, it's Monkhouse who wins by 0.8 and grabs back the outright lead by 0.7 of a second.
It's like losing the rally on the Super Special, except this whole rally is a Super Special, so the pressure's on to be neat and tidy, but still, you've got to have a go and be fast.
Fourth place, Alan Rowe, in a similar Silvia, struggles in the mud through SS15. Without the benefit of a sequential gearbox allowed under the rules, and with less experience, Rowe is not unhappy with where he and Ray Farrell are at in two-wheel drive.
We felt it was the right way to go for the future, you know, to get into a two-wheel drive, learn a bit about it. It's certainly fun to drive, there's no doubt about that. Fairly cost-effective car to drive, you know, it's the running gear and all that sort of thing is very much standard. So yeah, that's why we're doing it. We look forward to probably doing the whole year as a bit of a learning experience, I guess, so that we can come back next year with a new car, with a new front-wheel drive car, and giving it another go then.
What do you think you'll campaign next year?
I've actually already purchased a current model Ford Focus. We're going to go that way, front-wheel drive Ford Focus, so certainly look forward to the Ford product being out here.
About 4.5, 50.
Toughing it out in the mud, the V8 SS Commodore of John Brunsma is mixing it with the other Commodore, the SS Ute of Matt Amos, thanks to some timely car prep by Barry Lowe.
Just made a couple of changes. I'm actually able to sort of keep with Amos in sight now. My biggest fear this event was having the continual brake problem, but Barry's able to put a compound together, or fan a compound, which works really well. I'm standing on them out there on the bitumen, and fantastic. It's just a great event. It's great fun. It's lots of people here. They come, you know, kids crawling through their car. Brilliant event.
The slippery conditions don't suit the heavy rear-wheel drives. Brunsma and Amos share the back of the field with Ivan Thompson in the Aston Martin. But the V8s sound great, and their results are in the show rather than the leaderboard. Thompson's overnight fourth place in two-wheel drive is lost to the more nimble cars. Michael Busby and Adrian Coppin fight for junior honours through the alternate repeat runs of Evans on the gravel and Carr on the tarmac. The virtues of the different vehicles shining through. Busby's RX-7 clearly has the legs on the smaller innate Ford Fiesta, but he can't match Coppin's performance in the mud.
Look, it's going to be close. We're up against Michael Busby, and he's got a turbocharged RX-7, so obviously he's got a lot of power there as well. We got him yesterday by 30 seconds, I think it was. But today, obviously, it's very close. A good bit of tussle. I think he just got in front of us by a second now, so it's going to be a good battle.
I think it'll be pretty fierce. The weather is playing a very big role at the moment, so we're just going to have to knuckle down and keep it super smooth. Pretty much solely the reason why we bought the car was to qualify and win the Junior Challenge. So this weekend is very important to us.
Junior or no junior, Busby records a time through SS19 only 1.2 seconds slower than the fastest car. Just one car, the Honda Jazz of Eli Evans, is quicker.
Turn 2 right again.
It's not the stage Mark Pedder will remember for anything positive.
Yep.
Drive shaft.
As it turns out, it is the diff, but Pedder and new co-driver Claire Ryan limp back to the Evans Motorsport service bay for urgent repairs. Through 20, a repeat of Evans, Monkhouse grabs the stage and outright lead by 0.2. But Busby proves his second last stage was no fluke, beating Eli Evans back into third in stage. The tarmac of the Thunderdome is to Alan Rowe's liking through SS21. Third fastest behind Monkhouse and Evans, but a nose in front of Mark Pedder, who rejoins after some impressive work by the team to replace the diff in the Honda Jazz. The sister car in the hands of Eli Evans has opened the longest lead so far in the heat, 3 seconds over Jack Monkhouse, and surprisingly on the tarmac.
It's funny how it works with the front-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive in a tight track like this. It's almost like a circuit. There's no real advantage. It's just who's got the neatest lines, who's the most consistent, seems to be in the lead so far.
The final stage of the day repeats car. Eli Evans extends his lead by another 4 over Jack Monkhouse and takes the heat by 7 seconds. After the deluge of weather, Heat 3 is rerouted and re-recce'd early in the morning, and a new modified stage, Possum Long, is set. The longest stage with the most gravel and tarmac. The plan to run 3 stages and then 2 finals falls apart early when Ivan Thompson comes unstuck in the Thunderdome.
Chicane. .200. 3 right. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Oh!
Spectator Aidan Sikowski caught the action from high on the hill. Ivan Thompson is unhurt, but co-driver Carl Francis has suffered a dislocated knee. But in the circumstances, Dad, Dave Thompson, is just pleased everyone's okay.
Looks like his kneecap on his left side of his leg has been knocked around to 90 degrees. They put that back. Apart from that, he's badly bruised down the left-hand side. And they're giving him a precautionary CT scan at this moment.
Not the same prognosis for the car?
No, car's finished. His instructions were don't bin it, and unfortunately. Look, it's just one of those things. I don't know how keen I am going to be lending him Lamborghini, but if he wants it, I suppose I'll let him have a go.
So with 1 stage win to Eli Evans, it's now down to a double run over New Possum.
It was pretty greasy out there. I think all the drivers are calling it the swamp out there now, so it's difficult. It's the same thing, that we did yesterday. Is point it straight, get it out of the corners as quick as you can, get to the next corner. Anytime you go wide, you lose time. So it's much the same. And then the tarmac's a good challenge as well, because you've gone from mud to a dry tarmac surface where the tyres we've chosen, the mediums, they seem to just turn to jelly straight away because they're soft and they're designed for muddy conditions. So it's a bit of a balance. Which tyre do you want to use? Where can you make the most time?
Mark Pedder runs second to Evans across SS29, but importantly, he stays in front of the Sylvias of Monkhouse and Rowe. He matches his time of 3 minutes and 23 seconds But Eli goes one better, increasing his lead to 5 seconds. With bonus points on offer for the final, this will be Pedder's best chance at salvaging series points. But an Evans win this heat will bring Honda its first round victory. There's plenty at stake, and with Monkhouse breathing down their neck, it's a battle to the end. The pairing of Evans and Weston in the new Honda Jazz proves too good. They extend their lead, grab the 5 bonus points, another for most stage wins, and with it, the round victory.
Yeah, great job.
We're very happy. That's a dream start. What a run for the Honda Jazz G2 car. It's been faultless, mate. What an easy car to drive.
A welcome win for Evans and Honda at the inaugural two-wheel drive Bosch ARC. A brilliant performance by Jack Monkhouse in the Sylvia, with Adrian Coppin grabbing 3rd spot on the podium and a place at the Coffs Harbour round later in the year. Mark Pedder sneaks onto the championship table, and a consistent run from Alan Rowe rewards him with 5th. It's been a big weekend filled with every emotion for competitors and organisers alike. The opening round of the Bosch Australian Rally Championship. Despite the best efforts of the weather, the unique nature of this event being so different to a traditional rally has everyone ready to back up next year for another shot at the East Coast Bullbars Rally Calder.
Brilliant event. Yeah, I'd be back next year. It's really nice to have something different than just forest rallies. So yeah, no, this is great. I'll definitely be back next year.
Anyone at home that's thinking about rallying because you think it might be fun, you're right. It 100% is an absolute ball. So if you've got any spare cash, go out and buy one of these things and hurry up and get in the ARC.
And the next round of the Bosch ARC is the Quid Forest Rally from Western Australia. We'll catch you then. Bye for now.